لبيك اللهم لبيك
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Welcome to part 8 of my Hajj, a step-by-step guide to Hajj and Umrah. My name is Saad from the Wahi Project, and I'm joined by Ismail Davids from Amid Inspirations, and we're honored to continue our journey with you exploring Hajj and Umrah. So far, we've covered an introduction, basic definitions in part 1, a step-by-step overview of Hajj in part 2, a checklist of things to do before you depart in part 3, a detailed look at Ihram in part 4, the journey from home to Makkah in part 5, became acquainted with Makkah in part 6, and covered rituals of Hajj, in particular Tawaf and Sa'i, in part 7. Now in this part 8, we'll discuss how to perform Umrah. In Arabic, the word Umrah is derived from the word al-itamar, which means a visit. Here it means paying a visit to the Kaaba, performing Tawaf around it, walking between the hills of Safa and Marwa 7 times, and then shaving one's head or cutting one's hair short. Essentially, there are 2 types of Umrah. First, which is performed independently of Hajj, and second, which is performed in conjunction with the Hajj. Both types are performed in the same way, which we'll be discussing next. So without further ado, let's dive in. Umrah consists of 4 major steps. First, adopting Ihram with Niyyah at the Miqat. Second, performing Tawaf, which comprises circumambulating the Kaaba 7 times and then 2 rak'ah prayer. Third, performing Sa'i, which is 7 laps between the hills of Safa and Marwa. And lastly, cutting or shaving your hair. Though we've covered these in previous presentations, let's still look at each of them in turn and remind ourselves of what to do. The first step of Umrah is Ihram. The process of adopting Ihram involves the pilgrim doing some prerequisite preparation and then reciting the required Niyyah at the Miqat. This places the pilgrim into the state of Ihram, and they are now known as a muhrim. It is important to note that before uttering the Niyyah, one is not considered a muhrim, even if one wears the clothes of Ihram. Only after uttering the Niyyah does one become a muhrim, and then a number of restrictions and prohibitions apply. Before continuing to the next step, let's recap some of the important points related to Ihram, preparation, Niyyah, and Talbiyah. Preparation, including grooming and clothing, ensures that you are ready to enter into the state of Ihram when the time comes. Firstly, grooming. You do this by performing the following. Number 1, trim your nails. Number 2, shave underarms. Number 3, shave the pubic hair. Number 4, take ghusl or a bath. Number 5, brothers should trim moustache. Number 6, brothers can apply perfume to the body but must not apply perfume to their Ihram clothes or sheets. Remember, don't make your intention for Ihram yet, as you still have to pass the Miqat. Next, you must ensure you have the appropriate clothing for Ihram. For brothers, this is 2 white sheets and sandals. The lower part is worn by wrapping it around the waist, and the top part is thrown over the top, covering both shoulders. The right shoulder is open only during the Umrah or Welcome Tawaf. It should be covered at all other times, especially while performing Salah. Do not be concerned when you notice that so many other brothers are walking around with their right shoulder exposed. For sisters, the clothing is their normal clothes, which conforms to Islamic dress code and footwear. Note, no gloves and no niqab. It is acceptable to adopt Ihram clothes prior to the Miqat if it is more convenient. The next stage is once you reach the Miqat. The 5 major ones are shown on your screen now. As you can see, they form a virtual boundary that the pilgrim must not pass without adopting Ihram. Also remember, Jeddah is not a Miqat. Actually, it's inside the Miqat boundary, so Ihram must be adopted prior to arriving in Jeddah. So whether traveling by land or by air, you can pass by or parallel to the Miqat. It is here that you will adopt your Ihram by uttering the Niyyah for Umrah. What is the Niyyah for Umrah? Do you remember? It is the following phrase which is to be recited out loud,
لبيك اللهم عمره.
which means, O Allah, here I am performing Umrah. This is the only instance where one's niyyah is made aloud. All other times the niyyah is to be done by heart only and not the tongue. Also, if possible, it is preferred the niyyah is done after a salah. The Prophet, peace be upon him, pronounced his niyyah after having performed a fard salah. Furthermore, it's important to note there is no special salah 2 rakat established in the sunnah to be performed after adopting ihram or related to the ihram. There is no salat al-ihram as some books teach. There is also no other niyyah to be recited. Both these actions have not been established in sunnah, whereas the method we've mentioned has.
Before finishing the topic of niyyah, let's have a look at 2 special cases. The first is niyyah for Umrah on behalf of someone else. Unlike Hajj, all scholars do not agree that one can perform Umrah on behalf of someone else. But without delving into all the different rulings, we have decided to list the method here. The only place where you mention the name of that person is in the niyyah, where it is added at the end of the normal niyyah phrase, as shown. The rest of the Umrah rites are the same as if you were doing it for yourself. The second case is the niyyah with stipulation, ishtirat. If one, while entering the state of ihram, fears one is likely to be subjected to illness or anything else that might obstruct one's Umrah, then one can recite the clause of stipulation to Allah by saying the following. فَإِنْ حَبَسَنِي حَابِسٌ فَمَحِلِّ حَيْثُ حَبَسْتَنِي. The meaning being, thus, if I am hindered by any obstacle, then my place of conclusion is where you have held me. This is to be said in addition to the intention. So you recite the intention and then you add the ishtirat. If the ishtirat is mentioned, then if a person is unable to complete their Umrah or their Hajj, then they are able to come out of the ihram without sacrificing a sheep or a goat, meaning they don't have to perform fidyah. But if they did not pronounce the ishtirat at the time of intention, then to come out of the ihram without completing the rites, then they have to sacrifice a sheep or a goat as part of the fidyah. An example of when this can be applicable is especially for sisters who come for Umrah and they're on their menses or their menses will start soon. So the menses either started while they're performing the Umrah or before performing the Umrah, and they were unable to complete it and Hajj is already started. So that means they have to change their intention to Hajj. This way they will only cut the hair, come out of the state of ihram, make their intention for Hajj, and pay no fidyah if they have made the intention with ishtirat. As a final note, ishtirat is not to be said just for the sake of it, only when you have a genuine reason that you feel you may not be able to complete your Umrah or Hajj, then it is to be added to the intention.
Lastly, the talbiyah. Once in the state of ihram, brothers should recite the talbiyah loudly as often as possible. A sister raises her voice only to the extent of being heard by the person next to her. Before finishing off the topic of ihram, let's remind ourselves the restrictions and prohibitions incumbent on the muhrim. Some of these apply to both males and females, and these include no trimming of the nails, no removing any hair, no using perfume, including scented products, no hunting, no involvement in marriage, no sexual foreplay or intercourse. Other restrictions apply to males alone. These include no covering of the head, no wearing of any sewn clothes. The restrictions that apply to females alone include no wearing of gloves, no wearing of the niqab. Having discussed what is not allowed, let's list what is permissible for the muhrim. Wearing a wristwatch, eyeglasses, money belt, ring, sunglasses, hearing or speech aids, etc. Cleansing oneself, including having a bath or shower, changing one's ihram garments. Removing the ihram clothes does not nullify the state of ihram. One's niyyah places one in the state of ihram, and cutting of one's hair removes one from this state. Having a shelter over one's head, whether in a car, under an umbrella, or in a tent or building. Males may also cover their feet, but not their head while sleeping, with their ihram or a blanket. Having now completed step 1, Ihram, step 2 in Umrah is to do the Tawaf. This involves circumambulation of the Kaaba 7 times in an anti-clockwise direction and 2 rak'ah of Salah. How to perform Tawaf was covered in detail in part 7, but let's quickly recap the steps. First, circumambulation of the Kaaba. After you enter Masjid al-Haram in Makkah and before you start the Tawaf, brothers should uncover their right shoulder, and this is done for all 7 circuits. Proceed to the Kaaba and to the corner of the Kaaba with the black stone, Hajj al-Aswad. Once at the black stone, start by kissing it or touching it, and if not possible, simply by gesturing towards it. Say Bismillahi Wallahu Akbar, and then keeping the Kaaba to your left, walk around the Kaaba in an anti-clockwise direction. If possible, brothers should lightly jog, rummel, in the first 3 circuits. Supplicate, make dhikr, recite Quran. Once you arrive at the Yamani corner, touch it with your right hand and say Allahu Akbar. Do not kiss it. If you're unable to touch it, don't gesture towards it, but proceed towards the black stone corner without saying Allahu Akbar. It is sunnah to recite the following between the Yamani corner and the black stone corner.
ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار.
Once you reach the black stone corner again, you've completed 1 circuit. Continue by once again either kissing, touching or gesturing towards the black stone and say only Allahu Akbar. Proceed and repeat the aforementioned steps until you've completed 7 circuits. Upon completion of the circumambulation, proceed to the Maqam Ibrahim or any place in the mosque if this area is too crowded. It is commendable to say,
واتخذوا من مقام إبراهيم مصلى.
This is from Surah Al-Baqarah, part of Ayah 125. Brothers, cover your right shoulder and perform 2 rak'ah of prayer. We cannot stress enough that it is acceptable to perform the 2 rak'ah anywhere in the mosque. As with kissing of the black stone, remember it's best to avoid harming and causing difficulties to fellow Muslims. If you're fortunate enough to perform it near the maqam, then stand with the maqam between you and the Kaaba if possible. It is sunnah to recite Surah Al-Kafirun, Surah 109, after Surah Al-Fatiha in the first rak'ah, and Surah Ikhlas, Surah 112, after Surah Fatiha in the second rak'ah. After completing Tawaf, but before Sa'i, there are 2 quick steps recommended. The first is Zamzam, and the second is to return to the black stone if possible. Between Tawaf and Sa'i, after finishing the 2 rak'ah salah of Tawaf, it is sunnah to proceed to the well of Zamzam and drink your fill. The well entrance is gone now, so you need to drink from the taps and containers spread throughout the masjid. Then return to the black stone and kiss it if you are able to do so without crowding other worshippers, saying Allahu Akbar. If it's not possible to proceed to the black stone because of crowding or other reasons, proceed to the Sa'i area directly without gesturing or saying Allahu Akbar. Having completed step 1 and step 2, step number 3 is to do the Sa'i, which is 7 laps between the hills of Safa and Marwa. Once again, let's quickly recap the main steps involved. To start with, proceed to the Sa'i area. Specifically, proceed to the hill of Safa, which is the one closest to the Kaaba. When you get close to Safa, it is sunnah to say,
إن الصفا والمروة من شعائر الله.
Followed by saying,
أبدأ بما بدأ الله به.
Please note that both of these are only to be said once. That is at the beginning of the Sa'i and not at the beginning of every lap. Once at the hill, face the Kaaba and read the prescribed zikr 3 times with dua in between. Start at the hill of Safa and walk until you reach the hill of Marwa. You have now completed 1 lap. Brothers should lightly jog or walk briskly in the green light areas. During your laps, make supplication, do zikr, recite Quran, etc. Do this for 7 laps until you reach and finish at the hill of Marwa. Note, there is no zikr or dua at the end of the last lap. The 4th and final step of Umrah is to shave or trim the hair. Brothers should either shave all of the head or trim equally from all over. Sisters should cut approximately 1 inch from one place only. Once completed, you are out of the state of Ihram, and all Ihram restrictions are now lifted. You can also now change back into your normal clothes.
A suggestion for the brothers: if Umrah is very close to the Hajj days, then it is recommended not to shave your head, because you will need to shave your head during Hajj, and the reward of shaving and the amount of hair cut or shaved during Hajj is lots of reward. So if you are close to the Hajj days, then it is recommended to trim your hair after Umrah.
Congratulations! You've now completed your Umrah. This screen re-summarizes the 4 steps from start to finish. Number 1, Ihram, which is adopted at the Miqat. Number 2, Tawaf. Number 3, Sa'i. And lastly, number 4, cutting of the hair.
Before finishing off, let's have a quick chat about multiple Umrahs. Some pilgrims decide to perform multiple Umrahs, sometimes in the same day. If you look at the practice of our beloved Prophet ﷺ and of his companions, may Allah be pleased with them, we do not find them doing this at all. They did not try to accumulate many Umrahs on the same trip. Had there been any virtue in doing so, they would not have omitted that. Therefore, doing many Umrahs on the same trip is not recommended. One may do so only when one wants to do an Umrah on behalf of someone else or in the fulfillment of a pledge. So in summary, we cannot say it is wrong to perform multiple Umrahs. Also, not all scholars agree that you can do Umrah on behalf of someone else. So the recommendation here is to stick with that rights that are established with 100% certainty. Remember, one of the best ibadah while in Makkah after completing Umrah is Tawaf. One can do as many Tawafs as one wishes. So take this time and maximize your ibadah.
This brings us to the end of part 8. Thanks for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you in part 9. Remember to visit our websites, which may have additional resources accompanying this presentation. All praise is due to Allah, our Creator and Sustainer, Lord of the worlds.
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك